How's it going, y'all? Welcome to the latest episode of Out of the Groove Power Hour, presented by Circle B Diecast. I'm your host, Eric Estep, joined by NASCAR driver Brennan Poole. As always, Brennan, I know you just got back from a, what would you call it? Like a candy Willy Wonka emporium? Yeah. Where were you?
It was crazy. It was in Indianapolis. It was a candy convention.
A candy convention?
It's like a sweet and snacks convention. I should remember the name of it. Liz is going to be mad at me on this show that I didn't say the actual name of the convention. But yeah, dude, I mean, everybody was there. I'm talking toxic waste candy. I'm talking Oreos. I'm talking.
That's not even candy.
No, I know. I'm talking Jack Link's beef jerky.
What the?
Okay. It was wild. I've never been. Hers Chips was there, had a huge display. Like Welch's fruit snacks.
I like that.
I saw so much stuff. It was bananas. And you just get a bag and you can walk around and you can just like try
It's
anything
like
you want.
Halloween.
It's crazy, man.
Trick-or-treating in a convention hall. But it sounds like their definition of candy is very loose. It sounds
Oh
like.
yeah, that's why they have to throw the snacks in there. It was
I
like
see.
sweets and snacks, but it was like
Oh,
mostly sweets. But yeah, there were some beef jerkies. There's some beef jerky brands I hadn't even seen before, and they were incredible.
wow. I saw
I
some
did
photos
a
of you
bunch
in
of
the.
energy drinks too. They're like energy drink people there too, like doing stuff,
I
and that was cool.
I saw some photos of you in your toxic waste outfit, bright,
Mhm.
colorful, easy to spot. So that sounded like it was a good time. I'm jealous. That sounds like my kind of a convention right there. Well, we've got a big show in store for y'all. Lots of NASCAR news that you're going to hear my thoughts on. You'll also hear Brennan's thoughts, but we also have Ryan Ellis, your Xfinity Series teammate, joining us in a bit. That should be a good time. Before we get started, though, we do have to shout out Circle B Diecast. You can use code OOTG at circlebdiecast.com to get discounted shipping. We really do appreciate their support. You all know I love collecting diecast. This week matches my shirt here for our viewing audience. I've got this Bubba Wallace signed Dr. Pepper Toyota. Beautiful paint scheme. Love the sponsor. Looks great. Brennan, do you have a diecast that you wanted to show off
Yeah,
this week?
I brought a real old one for you because I
Oh,
wanted you to be shocked.
classic.
And
Okay.
this is Jurassic Park,
Oh,
Circuit City Interstate Batteries, Bobby Labonte.
whoa.
Okay.
With the
It's
caution tape on the side
Yeah,
skirt.
and it's got a dinosaur on the hood. Okay.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And it's the old Pontiac.
That's a throwback. I love
This is
that.
amazing. This is amazing. Yeah, what a throwback.
How
Plus
cool
Bobby
is it?
Labonte, Texas guy, raced at the same quarter midget track in San
There you go.
Antonio.
All right. Do you see
So
Terry
there you
Labonte?
go.
Did you see Terry at the racetrack this last weekend in full fire
I
suit?
Yes, I know that was so awesome. That was so cool. They did it all out, and
They did.
Larson he gave it a great effort with that paint scheme, so that was cool.
Yeah, he did. Speaking of throwbacks, though, where is the Best in Show trophy that your Hot Wheels inspired throwback won? Did it go? It went to the designer, didn't it? It went
It did,
to
yes.
the real
Ryan,
person responsible.
yeah, Ryan Pistana
Yeah,
does all the designs for Alpha Prime, and he is like the creative director for the team. And yeah, unbelievable job. That's like kind of like one of the only awards I feel like as a designer in the sport that they give, and so to win that is really big. And so super cool, super proud of him, and excited for him too. And yeah, he took the trophy home, but. The sponsors and people they want extras, right? Like it's kind of a big deal to win that award, and so it was a lot of fun, and of course a little extra TV time for the partners and everybody too. So
absolutely.
everybody was loving it.
Well, you guys killed it. Definitely deserving of that Best in Show award. Where should we get started, Brennan? Let's talk just a little Xfinity Series stuff first and foremost. There's I know we're halfway through the Cup Series regular season. I'm not sure exactly if we're quite halfway through the Xfinity Series regular season, but we're getting close. We're in that ballpark, roughly
Mhm.
halfway through. And if you look at the points, Brennan, you're 16th in driver points. How big is that for your team? What was the like? Was there like a hard goal coming into this year? Like we want to be top 20, we want to be top 18. Like what is the hard goal for you guys? Because I feel like you're exceeding them. You're knocking on the door of a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think we're it's crazy to think about, but it's just like I mean, going into the year, I felt internally that I could run in the top 20 in points. I just felt like I could do it. I wasn't sure yet. I hadn't driven the race cars. But I just, I liked my guys. I liked my team. I liked Tommy Joe. I felt like he was a good leader. I felt like with the right people in place and that we could really do something special. And we've really just like knocked it out of the park. I think it's been 11 races now.
Yeah.
And we've just continued to be a car fighting in the top 20 every single race. And, that's kind of our goal. We try not to overthink it. We are disappointed if we're not in the top 20. I will tell you that. And I think now we see that, yeah, if we can continue to push, continue to put some good runs together. And some of these guys right in front of us in the points start making mistakes that we could potentially point our way into the playoffs or, win Daytona coming up here and before we start. But if we could just be a little bit better, find a little bit more, and maybe fight for some stage points a little bit more often at some of these places, that could be enough that helps us pressure those guys even a little bit more in the top 12. But really, we just need to keep not making mistakes and keep executing and keep getting some top 20 finishes and just not overthinking anything. Just keep doing everything that we do well and executing it. Be smart on restarts, be good on pit road. My pit crew guys, the pickle gang, shout out. They have been doing an unbelievable job. I mean, several spots, you gain on a pit stop, put you in position to have something go your way. So
Mhm.
we've been able to do that and had another top 20 at Darlington. And we expect to go and do the same thing in Charlotte coming up. But it's
Yeah.
been, man, I'm having so much fun
It
because we're
seems like
competitive
it.
every week. And
It's been
yeah, man, it's
it's
been
been fun
great.
to watch. I was watching you at the end of the Darlington race. You were running 16th to 20th all day long, and towards the end there, you were closing in on I guess the 88 to Junior Motorsports car. You were closing in on a JGR car, the 19. Like you're racing, you're beating Colleague cars every week. If you look at the points, you're ahead of both Jordan Anderson Racing cars. I think
Mhm.
you're ahead of Jeremy Clements, who for years has been like the top independent team or one of the top independent guys. So no, really strong start to the year. We hadn't talked really, or at least not on this show, since your close call at Talladega a few weeks ago. That
Yeah.
was fun to watch, man. You've had a few, that could have won Best in Show for throwbacks. That was inspirational, man. Almost got it done. That was awesome. But
Yeah.
Xfinity Series has been a lot of fun to watch this year. This is a good sort of transition, I think, to next year. A lot of talk about TV partners this week. Last night was the
Mhm.
NFL schedule release. I didn't know they had a deal with Netflix, but there'll be NFL games on Netflix on Christmas Day next year. They've got Amazon Prime Thursday games. They've got CBS, Fox, NBC Sunday night, ESPN, ESPN2. And the NFL season is on every network imaginable. The NASCAR Cup Series is seemingly following suit. They've got races on Fox, NBC, obviously FS1 USA, as well as Amazon Prime, as well as TNT. It's a little complicated. The Xfinity Series, by contrast, though, it will all be on one channel next year, the CW. I know you were recently at that big meeting that the CW held with many Xfinity Series drivers, team owners. What did you take away from that meeting? How excited is the Xfinity Series industry, or garage, if you will, about
Yeah.
having their own dedicated TV partner next season?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, the thing that I liked about the meeting is that they're really interested in telling everyone's story throughout the field, which I think has been lost over the last several years. When you watch the broadcast, and many of the fans and people complain about it now. So I'm not saying anything new here, but it's like that we see the top five guys and we get to see that pretty much the whole race. But there is a race going on in the whole field, and there are stories in that field that the people at home watching on TV might not necessarily know or even see. And some
Yeah.
of the best racing is happening back there. I
I,
mean, we're slamming into each other and every point matters, right? And
Yeah, you
and
just
it
talked.
gets
We just
lost.
talked about you being top 20 in points, the bonus money on the line for a lot of these
Mhm.
mid-pack teams that are trying to get to that next level. You're right. There are stories throughout the field, and so what you took away is the CW is going to focus on that because I think we've brought it up on this show. Maybe it was off the air, maybe it was somebody else entirely, but I think you brought up in the past, like I think it was Tommy Joe, might have been Tommy Joe Martins when we had him on, that as great as Fox and NBC are with the Xfinity Series broadcast, they bring these Cup guys in as color commentators. They know racing, but they don't know the Xfinity Series. They're focused on their own Cup Series deal. Like they don't know every story about every driver in the Xfinity Series field. It's hard to effectively convey that information when you're not living and breathing and focused on it 24/7, 365. But the CW will hopefully have their own dedicated reporters,
Yeah.
broadcasters, analysts that can give you guys the credit, the coverage you deserve. So was that the takeaway you got? I guess that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So from my understanding of it is yes, that we're going to have those dedicated guys that are following the Xfinity series, and that's their job to know those stories and then share them and let the drivers be able to share and the team share their stories as well throughout the platform. And I know they're going to have a pre-race show and a post-race show. Obviously, more people always tune in for the pre-race. So trying to do some cool stuff
Nice.
around that, I think will be interesting. I think they have a lot of ideas. I don't think they've nailed down exactly what they're going to do for sure yet, or they're just not telling us yet. But I think it could be huge. And I think, it brings some consistency to the
Yes.
series where it's the same, and
Yeah.
these core group of people really learn the athletes and learn the teams, and they're able to better share those things with the audience. And that's what needs to happen. With the Cup guys, there's so much going on, and it's in so many different places with a lot of different, juniors doing the Amazon thing. And you got, I mean, I think Harvick and Clint Boyer do a phenomenal job. I love listening to them. They're great, but I think the same thing with them. I think they also would like to be able to tell more stories throughout the field. And so I'm just hopeful to see that, like, this, what we're doing with the CW, I believe it'll be really successful, and hopefully that like turns into a more of a pathway for other networks to see, like, oh, this is really working
This is how
with
it's
the
done. Yeah.
this is how we need to do it too, and get that out. You can do those Netflix series and all that cool stuff, but I mean, the fans want to know about the underdogs and the guys that are fighting and the teams that are building, and what they're doing to get there, and maybe the driver that's dealing with stuff that you don't know about because you don't talk about it, or what they've been through to be there. That's what people want to hear. They want to know those stories. It's the same thing, with an NFL player or a basketball player or whoever, a golfer. They got stuff going on. Fans want to know about it. That's what makes
Yeah.
them relatable. That's what makes them become a fan of somebody, is understanding their path and their story and why they are where they are and what they're doing. And so that just needs to be told more. I think that will create a stronger fan base and will create some more star power for a lot of the drivers. So, and I
There's
think the CW understands that, and I think that that's what they're pushing for.
Yeah, there's no shortage of interesting storylines in the NASCAR Xfinity series. You said something earlier, that consistency of having the Xfinity series race in the same place every single week. It's over the air television, so you're not even worried about cable. That's the thing about what the Cup series has done. I think fragmenting the schedule across so many networks and services is a bad thing in the short term. I think long term, the future is more likely to be on the streaming side than the cable side. So I think Amazon coming in, TNT/Max, if you have the Max streaming service coming in for that whole in-season tournament later in the summer, like that's,
Yeah.
I like that they're dipping their toe into that side of media, because cable subscriptions go down year after year, month after month, consistently.
Yeah.
So with the CW being over the air, more traditional network television, I could see this, bringing a ton of new exposure to the Xfinity series.
I agree. I
So
think they're going to have huge viewership numbers, and they also have an app too. So
yeah,
for those of you,
digital
if you're on the road
platforms.
or
Yeah.
traveling, they have an app, so you can watch the race on your phone or tablet or whatever. So it's like that is also huge. They have it all, man. I think it's gonna be really great.
Sorry, that's awesome that they, I like that they reached out, or maybe other networks do this too, but I did like that they sort of brought everyone together to explain their side, talk individually. Like that shows me that they're invested. I rant on my show sometimes. You're a big fan of Boyer and Harvick in the booth. I think they have their moments. They were really strong at
Yeah,
Darlington. They've had some
yeah.
stinkers, I feel, but I just feel Fox in general and NBC to a degree just feels stale. I feel like the broadcasts haven't evolved much in the last 20 years while the rest of the media world has. So I'm excited that there are these new partners. And I'll throw Amazon and TNT into this as well, but the CW especially, who are excited, new, fresh, hungry to connect with NASCAR fans. That could lead to some really cool content here in the near future. So
Yeah.
it is very exciting. I think we can move on. There's a lot to get to today, Brennan, that I want to at least
Yeah.
touch on with you. Can we talk? Let's talk about free agency. And I know this is going to be an uncomfortable topic for you because you are a driver in the prime of your career who is always listening for your next opportunity potentially. So I don't want to get you in any trouble or
Yeah.
make you too uncomfortable here, but we do have to talk about some things. Let's start with what's already happened. We're not going to make any guesses here. We know that Michael McDowell, shockingly, is leaving Front Row Motorsports to join Spire next year. He said that they offered him a long-term deal, more stability. I think underneath his answers, they also probably offered him more money. You and I've talked, Spire Motorsports has paid, you could argue even overpaid for a lot of different positions in recent years. They're building something over there. But Brennan, what do you make of this move for Michael McDowell? He's 39 years old, I believe. He'll be 40 by the time next year begins. With where he's at in his career, do you think it's the right move to leave front row for Spire?
Man, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if it's the right move. I do think he went for some more stability. There are always things behind closed doors that we're never going to know about.
Yeah.
But when I listened to his interview and him talking about it, I thought, okay, this is a move for stability for him. So maybe there's a long-term situation here where he knows he's going to be driving a race car for multiple years. And really, Spire has been building, and they've been doing a good job at it. And I think we'll really be able to see what they're capable of with him in the race car next year. It's tough though, because he's won multiple races for Front Row. Front Row has really been right there. Like, they are probably what we would say a tier one team now.
Yeah.
He is fighting for wins on a regular basis now. It's not just like, oh, once in a while, oh, they might get lucky and, oh, he won a road course. It's like, he's pretty much right there every week now. He's a top 10 car, and the 38 is now becoming like a top 10 car as well. Like, they're fast every single week. So I don't know. But
how well do you know Michael McDowell? Because from an outsider's perspective,
Mhm.
what he's done at Front Row the last few years, I think he is very responsible for their improvement over the years. Like, just from the people he connects with, what he brings from behind the wheel. Do you think he'll have that same impact at Spire? Say he's there for the next 3 years. Will Spire get significantly better with Michael McDowell being there?
I mean, it all comes down to the people and leadership, right? And I think
Mhm.
Michael McDowell is a great leader, and he's got a lot of experience in the Cup Series. He's been around a very long time, and you learn those things as time goes by. And I think he is somebody that's great at that. I think he'll help change the culture within Spire, which is what it's kind of, I mean, I don't know, I'm not in the building, right? But it just seems like from the outside looking in that there could be, like, they need a little bit of culture change. And he could be the guy to go in there and do that and lift everybody else up, and the other drivers too, right? Like, sometimes just having somebody fresh in there with a different attitude, with a different perspective, with experience and knowledge on how to say and do the right things elevates everybody up.
Yeah.
And so I see that from Michael McDowell. He certainly did that at Front Row. I mean, he was also there for a really long time and stayed faithful and kept working and kept punching. They kept also trying to punch above their weight, and then now they're in a really good
Yeah.
place.
What really jumped out to me when he was with Front Row is he won that Daytona 500 in 2021, and I know it's just a super speedway race, anything can kind of happen there, but then he had a really good 2022. They lost their crew chief. Blake Harris was poached more or less by Hendrick Motorsports. I thought they'd take a big step back in 2023. They really didn't. You mentioned a minute ago, they went out and won a road course straight up at
Yes.
Indianapolis. So
Yeah.
that told me that, hey, Michael McDowell is a huge part, is very largely responsible for their prolonged success. So going over to Spire, which right now has two rookies racing for them, and then you got Corey LaJoie, who's a solid veteran. He's established at this point, but Michael McDowell has, I think, tremendous respect from what I can tell within the NASCAR garage. I think he'll make a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think Spire is probably expecting more from Corey LaJoie at the moment. And for whatever reason, Corey's been close to winning a couple of times and was very solid. And it just seems like I don't.
Yeah.
The end of last year and into this year, it's just like you're not seeing that continue on from where
You
they
want to see
were.
that
It's kind of
continued progress. It's been
Yeah,
kind
it's kind of
of,
plateau.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and in the other cars, it seems the same way too. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I think Carson's done a great job, but I don't think they've been spectacular by any means. In the 71, I mean, Zane's the truck champion, he's won a lot of races. He's fast everywhere, and he's arguably the worst driver in the Cup Series
Yeah,
right now. I don't.
that's what stands out to me. 'Cause I'll give Carson his credit. That 77 was off the map 2 years in a row. I know it's probably a slightly different group of people over there, different
Yes.
resources perhaps, but still, for where that 77 has been, now that's the 71 is what it seems like. So I'll give Carson his
Yeah.
credit for that. The 71 is a disaster. So
Mhm.
hopefully Michael McDowell can step in there and restore order. It won't be a
Yeah.
Trackhouse, affiliated car next year, so that might change things for better, for worse. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and wait and see where all these other guys are going to go. Like,
Yeah,
where's Zane
that's
going to go? He's in a
that's
track house contract. There's not a car for him there. SVG, in my opinion, is I know everyone's like, oh, he's going to go in the cup. Like Trackhouse is going to get two charges. I'm like, he's nowhere close to ready to
yeah,
go race full-time cup. I race door to door with Shane, every single race pretty much.
yeah.
So, I think there's a lot more growth that needs to happen there. He's doing a fantastic job. Just he needs
It's just hard.
experience.
Yeah.
It's cup is real hard, everybody. It's real difficult. So it's a different ball game. So what's going to happen? I have no idea.
I was trying to figure out
People
how
are.
old Shane Van Gisbergen. He's 35 if Wikipedia is
Mhm.
to be trusted, or this is just Google. Probably getting it
That
from
makes
Wikipedia.
sense.
He's
I think he's a couple of
35.
years older than me. Yeah.
Yeah, so in my head, for some reason, I was thinking, is he 37, 38? No, he's 35. So another year in Xfinity would not hurt anything. It's not like yeah, you want to see a guy who's arguably in his prime get to the top level as soon as he can, but he still
Mhm.
has years to learn how to race NASCAR more efficiently. He's fine. He's done well this year, but
Mhm.
it's clear like he's new to oval racing.
Yeah.
I think he's done a good job, but to your point, I don't know that he's Cup Series ready. But that opens up the bigger conversation, Brennan. And this is where, again, I don't want you to, you're having conversations with teams yourself, but I guess the bigger question is how chaotic is it truly right now? Nobody knows what Stuart Haas is doing. We heard Chris Rice this week say, no, Trackhouse, or sorry, Colleague, we're not merging with anyone. We're going to be here as business as usual. Like, just how uncertain are things, not just at Stuart Haas, but with the entire seemingly Cup Series field? It feels like every day there's a new rumor out there. Nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's a little crazier than I think it's been in a really long time, maybe ever. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of change that seems like it's going to be happening. I don't know. Like you hear all these rumors, but they are just rumors, and there's only a very few select people that probably know what actually is possible, and whether or not some of these things are even going to happen is like, like what if Stuart Haas can't sell. I mean, they're going to probably still run. They're not going to just not run. You lose the charter, so like, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
still like, what's gonna? I don't foresee some of these rumors to be true. I think it's just maybe somebody had a conversation and then it like spirals out of control, and then people are like, oh my
A
God, this
bad
is
game of
happening. This is happening.
telephone. Well,
Yes, that
it's just.
happens.
Are there ever games that get played? Do you feel like Chris Rice said on Sirius this week that I don't know if maybe he's lying when he says this, but he said that sometimes we like to put a diversion out there just to get people to talk about us, and I'm like, so you sometimes just make up rumors to get to.
Well, that's a Tony Stewart move,
Well,
man.
how
He's
that's
like,
what I
I'm
mean
just
is.
gonna go fight somebody to get on TV for the sponsor. So I don't know.
But how often
Maybe
does that
that's
happen? Like, do you ever is there subterfuge out there where a team's like, I want this team's charter, so I'm going to go out and start a rumor that they're shutting down to scare
I'm
their sponsors. How many of those games get played?
games get played.
Yeah,
Games definitely get played. To what extent someone would go, that I do not know. But in big business,
yeah.
big moves happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were some
I just feel like
tactical moves made like that.
you can't trust anything right now, and it's
No, we need a lot more things to start happening that come out to really understand what that landscape's going to look like. And even for me, it's like who knows what's going to happen. I'm not sure. I
Have you talked to
heard those.
you don't have to be specific. Have you talked to any Cup Series teams?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So I just want to give you some
Yeah.
credibility. You are at the center of the madness. So when you say it's insane, you know what you're talking about because
Yeah.
you've heard some of this stuff firsthand.
Yeah, I hear stuff, and you work with all these guys. I've been in the sport now going on 10 years, so I know a lot of these guys, and a lot of them have moved into like more powerful roles,
Mm,
I feel like I've been, especially this year. I think this year, working with Tommy Joe and Alpha Prime has really helped my stock even more than where it was
yeah,
because I really wasn't in this type of situation before, and for a while. I mean, I have been, but it's been a while, and I feel like people are noticing what we're doing as a team, and that's helping me, right? And putting me into some more conversations that I might not necessarily have been in had I been in another situation or whatever, right? So that's been good. But I mean, you hear all kinds of different rumors and stuff that are going on, and some to be true and some to not be true. But I think what's interesting for me in my life is now that I'm 33, some people that I grew up with working in the business that were my age that started from the bottom are now starting to come into higher roles. So they know a little bit more about what's going on and talking about me and where I'm at with my partners and sponsors and maybe what I want to accomplish and where I want to go. And that can kind of help lead you into some other stuff too. But at the end of the day, right, like manufacturers have to approve you, teams that have alliances that sometimes those teams have to approve you to drive, and then you got to have the sponsorship support as well too, right? So it's a big puzzle that you have to like put together for it to work, and that can cause chaos because the teams need the money to operate, but they also want a really good driver, a credible driver that's going to do a good job, and
Yeah.
continue to grow their business, right? If you're going to go to a team that's growing, like they need a driver that's going to get in there and punch above their weight because that's how they're going to find more sponsorship. That's how they're going to get better drivers, better people to come work for them. Like all that stuff matters, and that's how you have to build the organization. So hopefully, I can be one of those guys. I feel like I've done that. That helps me, I think, at times. But really, I just want to race, man. I want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get in a good car and I want to win again. That's what I want to do. It's been a while since I've been to victory lane, but I just haven't quite been in the equipment to do that. And I think the teams know. I mean, the people running these teams know, and it's a business, and it comes down to the money. It always does.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I do have one more question while we're still on this sort of silly season
mhm.
topic. And this isn't a specific question, but there's obviously rumors that Stuart Haas is going to downsize significantly. And so if you're one of those drivers, and I'm sure you've been in a position in your career where you really didn't know what your next situation was, it was extremely stressful. How do you race week to week and contend for wins and
Yeah.
top tens when you have that much uncertainty around you? And like when you go into the shop, you don't know, what does this guy know that he's not telling me? What does this guy know that he's not telling me? Like, how difficult is it to compete amidst the chaos?
Yeah, it can be hard. I mean, I think, racing is a very mental sport. It's all mental. So you really have to kind of block that out and just focus on your job. You have to have good people around you. That's the biggest thing. It's all about the people, man, too.
Yeah.
And like if I'm Noah or Ryan Priest, I think some of those guys, like Noah and Priest, like they have some money attached to them. So they're probably feeling pretty good about where they're going to go if those are the two charters that go and they're going to keep Josh Berry and Briscoe and they'll be run two cars or whatever, right? Like it's all we have no idea what's going to
Yeah. That's
happen.
that's
But
a possible scenario.
that's
Yes.
a possible scenario. I'm not saying that's what's happening. Let's just say, I'm pretty confident those guys have money attached to them and they will be racing something somewhere, whether it's Cup, Xfinity, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think that in their situation, they're not too worried. But there are times in your career, and I've been in it where you don't have money attached to you and you're not going to be back the next year. And that is pressure because it's your job. So
Yeah.
it's like, what am I going to do next year? How am I going to pay bills? How am I going to do what I'm going to do? We don't, nowadays you don't make a whole lot of money. So it's like you're okay, but you really need to have a job the next year, So that's tough. And sometimes that can weigh on you. And I think the best drivers are the ones that are able to set that aside and do their job and race. Because really, when I get in the race car, I don't think about anything else. I just think about maximizing my result and executing and doing all the things that I do well, and just try to be perfect, right? And
Yeah.
I just race off my instincts and everything that I've learned to this point in my life, right? Those are the things that I do. I'm well prepared. Those guys have pre-race notes. They're in the simulator. They do all those things. I do all of those things. And you're well prepared when you go in to do it. So, but I'm sure some guys probably struggle with it more than others.
Yeah. Control what you can control. The best are able to compartmentalize, like you said. Interesting stuff. It's mayhem, it's madness, but I just wanted to get the vibe from you as someone who's living it a little bit. Just how insane and difficult is this silly season to maneuver. That was super interesting. Now I think it's time we bring in your NASCAR Xfinity Series teammate Ryan Ellis. Let's have Ryan join us here on Power Hour. We are now joined by NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Ryan Ellis. Brennan, and he's your teammate. This is very exciting. A
Yeah.
little Alpha Prime inception going on here. But Ryan, thanks for being on Power Hour.
Thanks, man. It's exciting to be here. I'm the original 44 driver. Got my 44 side there from a few years ago, so I just
Oh
warmed it
man,
up for Brennan.
you had to go there, didn't you? Yeah, you should have slid it out more so we could
Yeah,
we
let's
could have
look at
seen
our
it. Well, now
average
the dog's
finish.
vlogging.
Our
Yeah,
average
well,
finish in 44 will be a little bit better with you driving it. So
well, thanks for some credit. I appreciate it. But you've been a great teammate, and I'm excited to have you on here and talk a little bit. And I feel like you've been a part of Alpha Prime for many years from the beginning, and we wanted to give you the chance to tell us a little bit about like how you got started in racing because not many people. I raced against you in legend cars. We kind of knew each other when we were kids, and then I don't think we ever talked from that point until we were in the Xfinity garage together. So maybe like tell us a little bit about how you got started.
yeah, I feel like I'm your dream teammate. I'll start that. Like I feel like you beat me every race except for like one or two. And I know I say that to you after every race, but no, dude, we didn't really know each other before this year. Like I know we talk at driver intros and
Yeah.
stuff, but I knew you in Legends cars. I was like 12 to 16 years old and I was doing that. We got a new puppy here. I know I already told you guys, but if
I
you
was
hear
gonna
anything
say
crazy going on, that's what it is.
I'm half listening to what you're saying. The other half I'm focused on what that puppy is doing.
Thank you. I've
That's
already
adorable.
cleaned up poop 3 or 4 times a day from him. So yeah, we're working on that. But I'm a third generation driver. So like racing runs in my family. Both my grandpas raced. One of my grandpas was killed in a racing accident back in 1958. So long before I was ever born. Same year my dad was born. And I feel like I've been kind of carrying his legacy on since then. But I started when I was 4 years old, quarter midgets, legends cars, late models, and then ran out of money. Ended up in Grand Am doing a bunch of random stuff. Ended up on a Volkswagen reality TV show, won some races there, which is how I got to Grand Am. Got a start and park opportunity at Road America because Jimmy Means needed a road course guy, and Grand Am happened to be there, so I just got my NASCAR license over the course of a couple of days, start and park that, and then been stuck in NASCAR ever since. So it's a wild ride. I know we all have unique stories, but I feel like that's up there. Obviously, I was a PR guy or girl, depending on who you ask, for 4 years, somewhere in there. But
Yeah,
like,
because you did stuff for Matt Benedetto, right? Matty D. Because I remember
yeah.
seeing you in the garage when you were working, and then I saw you like race a truck a couple of times and do stuff, and you always seemed like a guy that was just like always grinding and like looking for sponsorship money and trying to create opportunities for yourself. So do you think like maybe that experience helped you maybe learn more about how to like find more deals or interact with people at the track or like
Oh,
anything like that?
you know, I suck at interacting with people. But like, I I think it taught me some stuff. It taught me to obviously. I think we all appreciate like how much work it takes to get every single opportunity. Like every single race is so much work. But it taught me a little bit about outreach, but really what it does, it introduced me to Tom and TJ Keene of CorvetteParts.net. Like they're not currently sponsoring me, but without them following me after I worked for GoFast Racing for 4 years, when that team shut down, they supported me for 6 races a year for a while. So I wouldn't have had the opportunity at Alpha Prime without them. So I'll continue to like praise them and shout them out for as long as I'm alive, really. But I got lucky and was just trying to survive after that. Got a lead generation marketing job. Got a degree in that, or most of a degree in marketing. And that taught me like how to build sales pipelines and lead management. And that's really what built my career back. As much as we always want to make it sexy and talk about finishes, you and I both know it's about wearing that Mac Door Systems hat and all the logos behind you.
That's super
Yeah, I
interesting.
mean, yeah.
I was gonna
Go
say
ahead.
because a lot of folks who watch this aren't race car drivers by any means, but they want to get into the sport some way, shape, or form. And I think a lot of folks are only just now realizing how big of a business this is in some ways. Like I guess that sounds obvious, but there's so many facets to it. There are so many places you can get started, so many backgrounds that sort of come together to make NASCAR happen on Saturdays and Sundays. Did you know you always wanted to get to NASCAR one day, or is this just where you ended up?
I just knew I wanted to race. I wanted to race IndyCar. I wanted to race World of Outlaws, but I probably don't have the kahunas for that. My mom probably wouldn't let me. I I ultimately just wanted to find a sustainable career because that's like, I mean, you want to do all these fun things, but at the end of the day, you want it to be your life and you want to be able to dedicate everything to it. And NASCAR presented that option better than Grand Am did at the time. So I loved NASCAR growing up, and it was definitely what I wanted to do. I wanted to be Jeff Gordon. I got to do that throwback to him last year.
Oh yeah.
But I just wanted to be a race car driver. I didn't care what it was.
You've been with Alpha Prime now for a few years. How has your role evolved with the team, or how have you seen the team evolve in just these few seasons?
Been a wild ride, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. It's just going from obviously when it was just Tommy driving, and then I've seen a lot of people come and go on the crew side. I've worked with 3 or 4 different crew chiefs now. Maybe that's 3. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. We've been a 2-car team. We were a 3-car team. I think we were a 4-car team once or twice. Yeah, we were Atlanta and some other places. Um, but I think we've kind of found our sweet spot now. Obviously, Brennan's doing a good job of showing that like our team is the strongest it's ever been, and I mean that like in every sense. Our at the shop, our guys really gel. The 43 guys are really really talented. 44 guys are obviously able to show it a little bit more. They're getting a little bit more of like, not saying lucky, obviously, Brennan. We talk about this every week, but like we just haven't had the results that have shown how strong our team has truly been. But like all throughout Alpha Prime, it's really cool to see every facet of it, from the business side, the sponsors, the drivers, the spotters that we work with. The pit crews are insane. Like everybody is so good here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the pace out of both the cars, the 43 team, like you guys have had really strong pace every week. Like, yeah, you've had some things, that might not quite have gone your way that didn't end up in you getting the finish that you should have ultimately gotten, but the pace out of both teams has been really fast. And I really think that we sort of are like, they always say the best of the rest, but I mean, we don't have leased engines and, we don't have a sim. We don't have a lot of the other tools that a lot of other teams have, but yet, there are many weeks where we're a lot faster than a lot of other those teams that do have those things and we're beating them. And, I've been on the good end of a lot of things like Ryan is saying and got some pretty good finishes. So I'm, been able to stay in there in the points a little bit better. But I think the majority, like the effort, the work of everybody together, I think it's like really shown this year. Like, we just have a great group of guys and great people together, and it's been fun. And you've been a great teammate too, so it's been fun, like having you on
I'm
this
a dream
show.
teammate, man. No,
Well,
I just think that we talked about it before the season. Like we're all trying to find our sweet spot and like who works well with who and what our team is, what our vision is, and we figure it out week to week. I mean, you've proven that like we're a fringe playoff team, which is actually crazy when you just line up the budgets. I know it's not crazy and you don't want to think about it that way, but it's nuts that you're competing with those teams and the cars that you're beating.
You guys have been impressive, I think, from a fan's perspective, an outsider's perspective. Before you hopped in here, Ryan, Brandon and I were just comparing the cars he was chasing down at Darlington, who he finished ahead of, who you guys are routinely running ahead of. If you don't mind, I do want to go back a moment because I didn't know a whole lot about your background, Ryan. You say you've worked all these different jobs. You've come at the racing world from so many different angles. What's one of the wildest or most interesting or weirdest jobs or roles you've had in your time in the sport?
Ooh, in the sport, I mean, I've done everything over other than go over the wall. But just being a PR guy, like it wasn't like a stint. It was 4 years of my life. And then I'm not young, so it wasn't like it was 18 to 22. I'm 34 now. So it was 2016 to 20, somewhere in there. I literally was like supposed to go to BK Racing and be a full-time up driver. I got offered the Opika Racing thing, which I turned down, which is like assuming what it would be, and accepted a PR job, being a Sharpie holder for De Benedetto and LaJoy. So I just was, yeah. I mean, I just think that like Ricky Bobby story is in itself is kind of weird. And I never thought I'd be a full-time NASCAR driver after doing something like that.
Yeah, what
yeah,
was
it's a
that?
crazy story.
What was that like? Yeah, that has to be such an odd adjustment to go from working the PR side of things to then, getting back behind the wheel and now racing full time. Like, I don't know, I guess was there ever like was that a difficult transition to make? Like even just mentally, you're in the seat, you're out of the seat, now you're back in the seat. Like how does that weigh on a driver mentally, I guess?
As a driver, I don't think it weighed on me. It's weird now because we work with a few different guys at our team that like I worked with as a PR guy too. Like I was sending them itineraries and booking their hotels. Like our truck driver is one of them. But I think it was definitely obviously way harder being a PR guy. Like I mean, it was the first year I did it really. I mean, the whole time was depressing. Like it really was watching a good friend of mine, De Benedetto, like live a dream that I was felt like I was pretty close to. You could tell because I got pretty freaking fat around then. That's why I ate my sadness. But I think I was always a racer and my mindset. I only run a couple races a year at that time, but it was almost natural to me. At least it felt natural. The first time I got back into a truck, though, after like a year and a half, 2 years at Atlanta, it was a true Ricky Bobby feeling of like, holy crap, these cars are fast. Felt like I was doing a Richard Petty driving experience out there. And after a stage, it felt pretty normal again. But I'm still like honestly learning tracks, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people realized last year. Is there's a lot of tracks I hadn't raced in 6, 8, 10 years. And I still haven't raced Portland or Sonoma. So Brennan's going to teach me a thing or two about those.
Yeah, we were already talking about it the other night. I was driving back home from a candy convention this week, and we talked on the phone for like an hour and just talked about all kinds of stuff, but stuff within the team and stuff that we need to work better together on, and stuff
Life.
talking about Portland and Sonoma and like I don't know, for me and like a teammate, I haven't quite had that in my career. Most of the people that I've worked with, everyone just kind of sticks to themselves. And that's what's tough in the sport because we're all fighting for like Brad Keselowski told me the one time, it's like, we're all fighting for this, like a piece of the pie, and there's only so many pieces. And so, like, it's really difficult to, like, I feel like get along with teammates and work well with teammates because, like, we're still kind of against each other in a
We're each
way.
other's
But
biggest competitor, really.
yeah, it's the only person that's in the same equipment as you. So, like, how do you, like, how do you, you always want to beat that guy, right? It's just, that's just
More.
part of it. Yeah, well, you got me at Dover, so it's all
Okay,
it's all good.
12, 11. No, I agree though. Like, and this is not. Well, I know we've joked about being lovers, but like, it's. I think we relate a lot in our passion for the sport and like the journeys we've both taken to get here. So like,
Mhm.
and we're both very, um, God, I can't think right, introverted in a way. So like, we almost relate on that introverted way, even though you hang out with Smithley a little bit more than I do, and that kid's the biggest extrovert I've ever met. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
That's funny.
Yeah, we just have something in common. Well, I don't know if it's because we are both like introverted that just makes it easier to talk because we see things and feel the same way about certain things. So then we just like click. So it's easier to talk about stuff. Whereas someone that's like totally opposite in the other way, it's like, sometimes it's difficult to like relate. You know what I mean? And I think yeah, our journey has been very up and down and difficult at times, and sometimes it's been good, and then it's been times where it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to drive again. We've both felt those feelings, so
You've
then
driven worse cars than I would drive, which is crazy. You've also driven better cars than I'll ever drive.
yeah, it's why well, I know my journey has been crazy, but so is yours, and it's a great story and one that needs to be shared with other people so they can, understand a little bit more about what you're fighting for and where you're at in your career. So that was cool. All right, Eric, we talk about the CW now and get
Yeah.
Ryan's feelings on this because listen, Ryan, I'm not trying to call you out, but you missed the meeting. You missed the meeting. You had a good excuse though. You had a
Oh,
good
you did
excuse.
it. Nope, nope, you did it. I get the excuse. So my dog died, Brennan. Sorry. I mean that was kind of an excuse, but it was also like, yeah, trying to be there for fam. But I don't know. I know you're trying to get my actual thoughts on the CW. I'm
Yeah.
the least educated person on everything outside of like my own.
Well, how do you feel about like, okay, we're going to be on one network, all 33 races. Like, no, the fans, once they know where to go to watch it, that's where it is every single weekend. And to me, I
Yeah.
think that's probably better.
I think it's cool, but I think NASCAR fans just like for me, it's simplifying everything. Like, are there NASCAR Xfinity Series fans where they're like, okay, on Friday I turn to X channel. On this one I turn to CW. On this one I go to Amazon. I don't want to create confusion there, and I'm not poo-pooing that at
Yeah.
all. I think it's great for us to have one channel. I think it's going to be a great adjustment. And obviously, if more money means that we're not digging in the weeds for sponsorship all day and able to activate and do more stuff like this, that's awesome. And that's what I think the sport needs is we need more time to interact with fans and show our personality because we don't have that time because we're chasing sponsorship 99% of the time
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
hiding in our house because we live in the same neighborhood.
That's a
Yeah.
great point for sure. Yeah, because Brennan and I were talking about that simplicity, and it's over the air television, so everyone has access to it. So hopefully this is a boost for Xfinity Series ratings and exposure. But you're right, the influx of cash as well, having a new TV partner that seems to be all in, very excited, motivated, invested in this series specifically. I think gives you guys, the drivers, the teams, more freedom, more flexibility to promote yourselves, and as a result promote the sport as well. So I think it's a win, hopefully for all sides. That's good. That's good. I appreciate you sharing your take on that, Ryan. Brennan, did you have any final thoughts or final questions for our very special guest here?
Oh, maybe one day I'll get to swing by your house since we do live in the same neighborhood.
Ride
Lived in
your
the
bike
same
over.
neighborhood for years and never even and didn't even know it. And then one day we were like trying to get together to do something. And he's like, "Well, where
Was
do you
the
live?" And I'm like, "Oh, I live here." He's like, "Oh my God, that's like in my neighborhood. I could literally walk to his house right now. We never knew it. Didn't know it
yeah,
for
just look for the
years."
house that has like the terribly manicured lawn and bushes overgrown and
Oh my gosh.
everything.
Really?
Right?
You're that guy in the neighborhood? I'm
Yeah,
gonna complain to
my
the
lawn guy
HOA.
sucks, man.
I'm gonna I'm gonna take my lawn guy. I'll send him over.
And
Honestly, yeah, we should just look it out. Let Getty do that. But no, seriously, whenever you want to come by and clean up dog food, it's free game. Yeah, come on
I was gonna
over.
say, with all the puppies running around, I'd be there 5 days a week, man, just stopping by. I'd stay long enough to pet him, to say hi, give him a treat, but I'd be out before the mess starts.
Yeah, I
I
run
think
a
it's
petting zoo.
I
Yeah.
think it's funny we're
Really
joking
awkward.
about lawn guys. Are we out of touch?
No, we're just old, man. Like
No,
we
oh, we're
both
just
view things, and I was gonna say this, like we both view things of like how can this benefit my racing career? And I think that's why I don't have like a public presence. You have a more public presence than me, but we're not like streaming every night, doing all this kind of stuff. Like we're actively thinking, like if I'm mowing my lawn, that's 45 minutes I'm not spending
yeah.
on business. Like I could sell a
Yeah.
race in that time. And that's the same reason we don't go out and
I dude,
always
I don't have time. I know your schedule and mine. We don't have time at all.
any
I think that's
convention.
something that some people, miss out on is that like, we don't have any time. Like we are working on racing and working on finding money for racing, and we're like working on, our bodies, our health, stuff like that. We're going to the shop, we're meeting with our guys, we're meeting with our spotters, and we're traveling, and then we're coming back, and we're still on calls and Zooms, and there's not a lot of time for anything, to be
Even to
honest.
focus on that, like on the actual racing side, I
Yeah.
honestly did zero sim last year, like at all. I might have done like 5 laps before. I did a lot for Chicago, but like outside of that, it was just like business, 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 business.
Yeah.
That's
And that's
interesting.
part of it. And
Yeah.
that's what it takes to do the job, right? I mean, that's what it takes to do this right now. And it takes everything. It takes all of your time, and it's difficult. I feel like we have done a good job at pre-race notes. We've pretty much done it
Yeah.
every week, Ryan. I think
Every
you missed
week that
one
I've done
though.
it, I've like basically gotten destroyed, and every
All
week
right.
I've
Well,
skipped
don't
it.
blame it on the
I've had,
pre-race notes, Ryan.
I'm looking at. I need luck, man. I'm like, what shoes am I wearing? What shirt? I've bought good luck charms, and they've not been good luck. So I need something. I gotta just do whatever you're doing.
You
I'll
need to
ride
get
my
some
bike.
fireproof underwear with four-leaf clovers on them.
I don't think
Is
they make that.
is
I'm
that
not
your
sure.
They
lucky
can
charm,
print it.
Brennan?
They can print it on there. They can do it.
Brennan,
It
what's your
used to
lucky
be. It
charm?
used to be.
Do you have a lucky charm,
See,
Brennan?
I'm his lucky charm. Look at this year.
I, I don't think I have a lucky charm per se. I mean, every driver does like their own ritual, I guess, in a way. Like you do things a certain way, and I still do things a certain way, but that's like a routine that you do. I think that helps you like mentally be where you need to be. So I do like the same things every race, and how I get dressed and get ready and all that
No, you
stuff. It's just
don't.
like a routine. Yeah, I do.
He
I
doesn't?
put my
You
left
get
shoe on
dressed,
first.
then
I
you
get
walk into
dressed
my
way too
hauler.
early.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
because
walk into
I
my hauler and you're like, why
listen.
aren't you dressed? And I get dressed and you wait for me. And then I grab
That's
people and then
part
you
of
walk
my
away.
routine, Ryan. It's part of it. No, I'm just
You
kidding.
you you
I'm
race
just a
me
good
and beat
teammate.
me
I don't
to
want you
do
to have to
stuff.
walk all the way by your lonesome to driver intros because it's terrible. You got to walk
You
all the way
almost
by
beat me to
yourself.
intros.
You got to
You
go
beat me to
stand on the
intros.
stage. Nobody likes
Mm.
you. You don't want to talk to anybody because you hate everybody up there. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
That gets
that,
deep. Yeah. I just
uh,
stand next to Leland and give him crap for 15 minutes and then
especially when he's
get over
wearing
it.
wigs like last week, where it's like trying
The
to
Kyle
dress like a
Petty
Kyle
wig.
Petty. He had a really bad fake mustache
The
too.
mustache.
Bad. It was real bad. But what
Mm.
are you gonna do? I put a Bible verse in my car every week too. I've been doing that since I was like 12 years old, and that I do that every week too. So
That's
yeah, there you go, Ryan. Put the Lord's word in your car. Maybe that'll help you out.
Yeah, I probably should do that, honestly.
Mhm.
It can't
That
hurt.
hit like actual reality in my head. I'm like, that actually makes sense. I probably should do
Yeah,
that.
it's
That's why I
protection,
didn't have
man.
anything creative to say.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that these 20 minutes we spent with you, we may not have gotten any business deals done, any extra work on the sim, but we may have just found your next good luck charm in the race
Yeah.
car. So hopefully,
Like Brennan Bible verses. There we go.
Yeah, there
hopefully
you
this
go.
was a productive use of your time, Ryan. We really do
Oh, yeah.
appreciate you being on the show. It's great to learn a little more about you, to hear some of your story. Good luck the rest of this season. That throwback last week, I can see the helmet behind you. I think that's what that is. The Days of Thunder
Yeah.
throwback was awesome. So
Thanks.
good luck rest of this year. Excited to see what you can do.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, and that suit and helmet hardly got worn, so it's still fresh.
Huge thank you to Ryan Ellis for being on the show. That was a good time. Good,
Yeah, it
fun,
was.
casual conversation between teammates, friends.
He's funny.
Yeah, he is a funny guy. I like that. We, as always, end these episodes off with some fan questions. I referred back to our show from a few weeks ago, Brennan, and found a couple of decent fan questions. One for you, one for me. I'll go and start off with the question for you. This one came from Indy Kirchen Bauer Racing, 1709.
Okay.
And they ask
Okay.
simply, Brennan, which car is more fun to race, Cup or Xfinity?
Yeah, that's a really difficult question, right? Because they're both have things about them that are great and fun. Obviously, I'm running Xfinity full time, so I'm really enjoying that. And they're so fun and out of control, and you're sideways, and you can kind of like bounce them off the fence, and like the bodies to kind of like I mean, you still got to be careful within reason, but they're a lot of fun to drive, and they're not as aero sensitive as the Cup car. Like behind guys, you can still like pack air on people and make them loose, and that kind of stuff is a lot of fun. So I really like driving the Xfinity car, but the Cup cars it's Cup, right? I mean, everything about it, it's more intense, it's more competitive. It's just, it's the highest form of racing in our country. And it's just like, man, there is like nothing cooler than being a part of a Cup race weekend. I've been fortunate to do it like 43 times or something like that. So it's been, I like cherish every single one of those moments. There's just nothing better than walking into a Cup garage and your name being on one of those cars. But they're just it's so challenging. It's so difficult. I love that. But I mean, the whole field now is like separated by like 5/10 from
Yeah.
first to last. I mean, it's just like it's unbelievably competitive. And I think that's what makes it so great too. Like that challenge is unbelievable and very intense. And I love that intensity. So that part of it's really cool. But I still kind of like that in the Xfinity car. I kind of like,
Yeah.
bouncing off stuff,
The way you
run into
said,
some people, that kind of is still kind of fun.
the out of control element of the Xfinity car is fun. I don't remember what
Yeah.
driver. I think it was when I talked to Corey Heim recently. He said with the Cup car, which he's got a taste of now, he said it's like you must keep it pointed straight always, or else
Yes.
you're done. And it's like, oh, that kind
Yeah.
of takes away from the sliding on corner exit that we grew to love, and it's always fun to
Oh, yeah.
watch. So
No, the Xfinity car, I'm sideways almost the entire time.
yeah,
In
no,
the Cup car, yes, you cannot. There's no breaking that thing loose, or you are wrecked.
yeah, the line is extremely thin. This final question, this one is aimed at me, and it comes from Andrew Jim, who left a very nice comment on our last episode. But their question was, I was wondering what you got your degree in, whether it was in the journalism field or something else related to what you do now. So I got a film degree actually when I went to college. I went to the University of Texas at Austin and got a radio, TV, film degree, a 4-year degree, although I was done in 3.5 years. Really just because I was speed running, trying to get out of there. I was not like, college was not like, I was not one of those people that just wanted to like hang out in college, and I enjoyed that time, but I didn't want to, I didn't want that to be where my life peaked, I suppose, the way I guess it could be for some people. So I was ready to get out and get to the real world and hopefully make cool stuff. But I wanted to make movies or TV shows. I had an internship in Los Angeles right when COVID hit. And when the pandemic hit, it shut all of Hollywood down, basically shut the state of California down for several months. And so I moved back home to Texas, and that's when I decided to try making YouTube a full-time gig, and luckily it worked out. In some ways it was a good thing or the timing was good, because the entire world moved online where I already was. I was already interviewing drivers over Zoom calls, and now it was it was like the normal thing to do. Now that looked professional, and I'm like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I don't have any formal like journalism training. I'm always trying to learn and absorb as much information as I possibly can. I try to learn from others' examples.
So you a big Longhorn fan then?
Mildly.
no?
It's tough because my fiance is a Oklahoma
Oklahoma,
Sooner.
right?
So
House divided. Can you imagine that flag in your front yard?
yeah, no, I don't think that would fly. She's a much bigger Oklahoma fan than I am a Texas fan. I'll put it that way. Like I've always been more of a
Okay.
professional sports and racing guy,
Yeah.
whereas she was in the marching band and is like rah rah Boomer Sooner until the cows come home. So
Okay.
that's why it works. If I was a crazy hook 'em horns Longhorn fan, it probably wouldn't have made it past the
Yeah.
first date. But we
Yeah,
survived.
you guys would be fighting over the
Yeah,
table. You'd
it's
be like
it's
knocking water glasses off of the counter. Like,
it would be,
you know, people
I
get
like
nuts.
a little drama, a little tension in my day to day life keeps
Mhm.
things interesting, but that would be too much.
You want the TNT level. Like TNT knows drama,
Yeah.
but you don't want to go past that.
I want to
You
feel
don't want
safe.
MTV. You don't want MTV drama. You just
I want to feel safe in my own house, and right now I do.
Okay.
If I was a crazy
good.
Longhorn fan, I don't think I would be safe in my own house. So, but that hopefully that answers your question, Andrew. Yeah, it's interesting. It does relate to what I do now because it is filming and editing. Like I edit all my own videos. I light the set. I do all of the technical stuff, and a lot of that I did learn in college. But the like reporting side of things, which I don't really consider myself like a true journalist in the sense that like Bob Pockrass is the most authentic journalist in the sport, most likely. Yeah, I don't put myself in that category.
I
But
think it's cool that you can make films. We should make a film now. We should get together. We'll write it out. We'll make a film. We'll make a racing documentary.
we can make a short film about, I don't
Oh,
know.
we can do that too.
I don't
We
know
get
how
enter in the Sundance.
Yeah, man, there we go. Maybe. I had an idea. I forget what it was. Oh, I was so frustrated. When I was in college, I had an assignment, and I don't remember what the assignment was specifically, but basically they wanted us to come up with our own like film pitch. There were some probably other parameters, ramifications, whatever. But I was like, just pitch a movie idea. And I was like, I'm going to pitch a racing movie idea. And I was kind of aiming it around like based on William Byron's story of going from a computer to late models to NASCAR Cup Series winner. Loosely. It was loosely based on William Byron. This was 4, 5, 6 years ago. I came up with this idea. And then last year, that Gran Turismo movie comes out, and it's basically the exact same story. So I'm
I
like,
was just about to ask you because you
yes.
did not like the movie.
Well, so
Right? You were like, the CGI looks.
yeah. Well, I just was like, on one hand, I felt validated. I'm like, all right, so my idea was a good idea, but also I was sort of bummed. Like, man, I've never had a single original thought, have I? This is kind of demoralizing, but yeah. So I did have that idea a few years ago. Obviously, it was just a class project, didn't go anywhere. But yeah, we should work on something, Brennan. Maybe down the pipeline, we could come up with a. Doesn't even have to be racing themed, loosely maybe, but we could do something. It's been a while. It's been a while since I really went out in the wild with a camera and made something magical happen. But it's always fun. I always enjoyed that. So
Yeah.
hopefully that answered your question, Andrew. Really appreciate you all leaving questions. We try to check the YouTube comments under every single one of these episodes, scour them for good questions. You can always tweet at us as well. So, but this has been fun, Brennan. Another powerful hour of racing content and conversation. We'll have to do this again soon. We won't wait a full month next time. There's too much going on in the racing world. It's too interesting,
Yeah.
too entertaining to let this sit for more than a couple weeks. But this has been a good time. Have any final closing thoughts before we sign off here?
Remember the fan questions. Send us some questions. We might answer them next go around. And that's it. Also, remember the Xfinity race next year, guys. It's on the CW. I'll probably tell you at the closing of every show.
It's actually
on the CW.
Isn't it on the CW at the end of this year too? Aren't
Yes,
they picking
it
it up
is.
early?
Yeah, they are in the playoffs.
Yeah. We'll have to get on top of that and need to make sure fans know where to watch their favorite Xfinity Series driver compete this year in the 44 car. So, yeah. Thank you all for listening and watching the latest episode of Power Hour. We will catch you next time.